Yeah, one adult, please.
Okay, hey, Ron.
What's going on, buddy?
Nothing. We thought we'd come out. No, the movie hadn't started yet. Simmer down here. We thought we'd come out and you know, it's
coming out.
Hey, no problem. We'll probably want to talk to you coming out of the movie.
No problem. I'll take any time you want. I'm just kind of nervous because I'm nervous.
I know, but there's no need to be nervous. I've already seen the movie. It's a nice ad, isn't it, though? We'll talk to you coming out. Okay. We'll talk to you coming out. Now, I've already seen the movie. I'll be reviewing it sometime next week. It is a good film. It is very sensitive. It's about the adventures of a boy named Tex. It was all filmed mainly here in Oklahoma. So we'll wait for the movie to be over, and we'll talk to Ron.
1 more mile an hour and stretch gets dead.
We don't have a clip of Ron's scene, so our photographer, Mark O'Neill, shot this video directly off the movie screen itself. That is the reason for the wavy lines. To set things up for you, Matt Dillon and his brother have been kidnapped by an escaped convict from McAllister. Matt swerves in the road to attract the attention of a passing highway patrolman. Now, Ron plays the part of a newscaster telling about the capture. He won't mention any sports scores in this newscast.
The convicted drug dealer killed a trustee during his escape and wounded another Tulsa man before kidnapping 2 local teenagers, Tex and Mason McCormick, demanding to be driven to the state line in their pickup.
And we'll be talking to Ron as soon as the movie is over. It should be ending about any time now, as a matter of fact. The movie has just ended. Here comes Ron. Ron, we'd like to talk to you.
Ronald.
Oh, Ronald. Now it's
Ronald Eric.
Oh, Eric. Okay, we'd like to talk to you if you don't mind.
Hey, I can't. Hey, Deanie.
No, Dino. We worked several times.
Yeah.
I know. We worked together.
I haven't seen you in a while. You know, really, it's great to see you. I really gotta go.
Well, we just got a couple of seconds. We'd like to talk about the movie.
You know, I've got Waltz waiting for me outside. Bert and everybody. I really gotta go.
Well, we just like a couple of seconds.
Deanie, I love you, baby.
Dino is the name, right?
I could.
You lousy. Okay. Now, really, what was it like making the movie?
You know, Deanie, I really had problems getting up for my part. Dino, I had problems getting up for my part. I had to really internalize it. It was fun.
Were you into it? Was reality?
It was, yes, it was reality. You know, I really internalized my character, Deanie. And Dino, right. I love you, baby.
Yeah, you're great too. Well, I'll tell you, Ron, you really were great in the movie. I must say.
Yeah, I know. I must say too.
I knew you would. Okay, this is Dino Lally, action 4.
Ronald Thuein.
No, it's Dino.
No, it's Ronald. See,
Dino Lally, action 4. You were the star in the movie, but this is my story. No, it's my story. I get the out you first. It's not fair. We can cut.
A janitor at the Mistletoe Express Company at Southwest 15th and Council Road went on a shooting spree this afternoon about 4 o'clock. No one was injured, but one office and 10 cars in the Mistletoe parking lot were riddled with buckshot before police were able to apprehend the gunman. Police and company officials were quick to secure the grounds and to line up witnesses to the incident.
Or somebody will tell you when to go ahead and go back. Wait for them right there. Okay?
As Oklahoma City police officers searched the suspect's car, a representative of Mistletoe tentatively identified the gunman as Carl Dennis Heiston of Midwest City. Apparently, Heiston was hired and fired in the same day. Company officials were unable to give an official statement as to why Heiston was fired or any other circumstances that may have triggered today's shooting spree. In Southwest Oklahoma City, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
It started when 2 male students attempted to break out of the detention area. They have been placed in the detention area for attempting to hurt staff and our other students. They began a process of completely destroying the room that they were in. They damaged the door to the point that they actually gained access to the hallway, and one of the students who did gain access to the hallway assisted the other student into getting into the hallway. They gained access to a big 2x4 in which they held off staff.
many others. Agents have also confiscated 2 patches near Hatt. So far, only 1 man has been arrested, but authorities say more arrests will be made. I believe to be part of a sophisticated operation. Irrigation equipment.
It's not that agencies are not doing their job and law enforcement's not doing their job. The facts are that the problem is multiplied so much. We've got individuals down there that have been moonshining for years that all of a sudden, well, hey, here's a real opportunity to make some big bucks. And marijuana cultivation is a big money operation. So it's the fact that the
The ripple effects of the failure of Penn Square Bank continued to expand. One customer not in this line was the State Department Federal Credit Union. The credit union bought a $1 million certificate of deposit at Penn Square Bank 2 weeks before the institution's collapse. The head of the credit union said he was misled by the bank's last 2 statements of condition and the annual audit of the bank by Pete Marwick Mitchell and Company. The 1980 audit by Arthur Young Company had raised questions about the bank's condition. Nevertheless, Pete Marwick and Mitchell stand by its 1981 audit. And the ripple has spread to Michigan. The Michigan National Bank has opened an office here in Oklahoma City to service its loan customers. But now Michigan National Corporation of Bloomingdale, Michigan has announced a second quarter loss of about $1 million. The loss is blamed on loans made through Penn Square Bank. There's also activity on the legal front. Action 4 contacted the U.S. Attorney's Office in Denver. They confirmed that a Colorado man, Thomas Chilcott, is scheduled to go on trial August 16th. He's charged with swindling investors out of $27 million they had placed with Chilcott's commodity investment firm.
They would not confirm or deny that a federal grand jury in Denver is investigating Chilcott's involvement with a Tulsa firm, Sackett Petroleum, and 2 loans made by Penn Square Bank to Chilcott to invest in Sackett. There are reports that Bill Patterson, former executive vice president of Penn Square Bank and head of its energy department, has been subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury. Meanwhile, here in Oklahoma City, a federal grand jury has been impaneled. The grand jury is expected to make inquiries into several matters, including the FBI-IRS investigation into Penn Square Bank's lending practices. Bill Ross, Action 4 at the federal courthouse.
The fellow across the street.
When I was going over there.
That's good, because if you can't find anyone possible, there will be some.
Yeah, and I feel quite certain he will be reviewed, but I'm sure this happens. Well, I would like to see a strong person, a lot of them with Dr. Payzant's qualifications, in being a bright person and an innovative person. I would also like to see someone that I felt like would fit well into the community and have a positive attitude towards the Oklahoma City schools, work well with the board and with the community.
We're hoping, what we're doing in our first series of alerts. Here's Oklahoma County, where as So we anticipate that what so far has been a strictly localized outbreak may not remain that localized. And over the next 4 to 10 days, we'll expect to see cases elsewhere in the state.
The fourth day of the termination hearing for Mike Ossenkop featured the testimony of another Moore principal, Jan Calloway. Ms. Calloway went to a convention in Houston last February with 6 other Moore administrators. Those other 6 administrators, including Ossenkop, have been accused of filing false expense reports. Gene Self, a textbook company employee, took all the administrators out to dinner in Houston on Tuesday, February 9th. It's charged that the 6 administrators filed a claim for the meal even though Self paid for it. It's also charged that everyone who had been on the Houston trip had a meeting on February 16th. Calloway says that at the meeting, the other administrators, including Ossenkop, discussed charging the school district for the dinner.
I remember Mr. Ossenkop saying something about charging, that he was going to charge $18 and something for the Tuesday night dinner.
That's Mr. Ossenkop said that? Right. And what did Mr. Bowen say?
I believe Mr. Bowen said something about, I can't remember the amount. He gave a single figure to, I don't know if it was 17 or what.
Dozens of parents whose children were attending Star Elementary School during the January 19th explosion met in district court today. It was time to find out just who will pay financially for the disaster that killed 7 people and injured many more. Everyone that filed suit against the school district's insurance company was supposed to be in court today. Attorneys for the school were asking the court to divide a $300,000 insurance policy among those seeking damages and to prevent any other suits from being filed. The lawyers for those seeking damages say not everyone was notified to be in court today, and the $300,000 insurance coverage required by law is not sufficient, especially since there may be other insurance policies the school district is not mentioning.
We're concerned that they're playing fast and loose with the lives of children who have been maimed and injured and killed as a result of a violent and tragic and avoidable situation on January the 9th, 1982. And to merely come into this court and hand the judge a paper and say, here, this hearsay paper says this is all there is horrible. And it isn't justice at all for these poor children and these poor families.
District Judge John Amick finally decided to continue the case for another 60 days. This time will be used to find out if there are any additional insurance policies that need to be brought out. Both sides do agree compensation is due to Star victims. Only which victims and how much compensation must still be decided. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in the Oklahoma County District Court.
During an election year, a politician's perceived power is an important element. In that case, a handful of state Democrats are getting a boost from a local paper who lists 7 Democrats among the 10 most powerful men in the state.
Governor George Nigh heads the list of the state's powerful 10. This is the first year he's been on top, edging out publisher Edward L. Gaylord, head of the Oklahoma Publishing Company. In third place is U.S. Senator David Boren, and right behind him is Oklahoma House Speaker Dan Draper. Finishing up the top 5 is U.S. Representative Jim Jones of Tulsa. 3 more Democrats, all of whom are running for re-election this fall, are in the top 10. Attorney General Jan Eric Cartwright garnered the 7th place spot, and the 9th and 10th most powerful men in Oklahoma are State Senator Gene Stipe and Senate President Marvin York.
The validity of the study is hard to determine. The list was compiled following a weekly newspaper survey of 200 state lawyers, bankers, businessmen, members of the press, etc. One name notably missing from the list is retiring Human Services head Lloyd Rader, who many people fear has more power than even the governor of the state. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Only half the units ever made it to the fire. The others were called back to the station. But those 6 units that responded did the work of 12. They had the apartment fire out within 3 minutes after they found the blaze. The upstairs apartment was destroyed despite the quickness of the fire department. The fire had spread throughout the apartment before it was extinguished. The total damage estimate is low, between $6,000 and $7,000. Firemen believe the fire was caused by a cigarette left burning in bed, but they can't be sure.
Gary, Frank, have him bring the man with him that lives here.
They're having a hard time interpreting what the leaser has to say about the fire. He doesn't speak English well, so they can't determine whether or not he left a cigarette burning in the bedroom. Firemen will be at the scene for some time. They now have to sift and shovel through the debris to make sure there aren't any embers left in the walls or under the trash. The work will also help reduce water damage to some surrounding apartments, since the puddles won't be left sitting. But a certain amount of damage was unavoidable. The other upstairs units received smoke damage. The downstairs units will have water damage. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at the Mayridge Apartments. The obvious reason for the increase is money, especially at a time when the economy is so shaky. But the Oklahoma National Guard offers much more. The biggest benefit comes in career training. These men don't spend their weekend duty in drill formation. They spend it learning marketable trades like computer programming. With the help of this card processor, the soldiers are responsible for millions of dollars worth of equipment belonging to this battalion and to the state headquarters. The majority of the new recruits are young people looking for a head start in life, like William West. At 17, he's on the road to a career in computer technology.
And it means I'll be more ahead of everybody else. You can retire like in 20 years and I'll be young then.
Learning is not limited to the computer field.
Well, the person that stands down here is in charge of checking his gauges, make sure the amount of pressure is going through each hose, all right?
Work more commonly associated with the Army is stress, too. These drills in transferring fuel are essential to success in the combat zone. There's an old saying that an Army marches on its stomach. But times have changed. Today's mobile Army needs fuel as well as food. One thing that hasn't changed is patriotism, and there's lots of it at Oklahoma City's National Guard.
To me, I get the same feeling as I do when I go to an OU football game and they play the national anthem. You know, I never have gotten over the feeling that it kind of makes my back straighten up and the hair kind of stand up on my neck. But I get that feeling when I come out here.
Why Oklahoma National Guard enlistments have gone up isn't important, at least not when you realize that battalions like this one make up 50% of our nation's defense. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
OG&E is responsible for supplying service to at least 500,000 customers around Oklahoma. Sunday, more than 5,000 of those users suddenly found themselves without electrical power. The cause was said to be more use of air conditioners than a transformer could handle. Power demand for weekdays is actually down from this time last year, but up for the weekends. Still, the utility company feels losing service won't be a common problem during the weekends.
We're ready to pull the summer load. There will be scattered instances like yesterday where a circuit will overload, but we're in shape to make the summer. We can make our predicted peak, and barring scattered isolated cases as happened, anytime you come up on a new peak load, well, we'll be in fine shape.
As always, OG&E is encouraging people to save as much energy as possible. During the summer months, for every degree you turn your thermostat down, your bill goes up 3%. And energy isn't getting any cheaper. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
There's no excuse for singling out one industry.
Former U.S. Senator Henry Bellmon has been a farmer since he retired from his Senate seat 2 years ago.
Like the Roman farmer Cincinnatus, Senator Bellmon has been called back to public service.
I move we appoint Henry Bellmon as Director of the Department of Human Services of the state of Oklahoma, effective January the 1st, 1983.
This morning, the Public Welfare Commission voted unanimously to ask Senator Bellmon to take over the number 2 job at the State Welfare Department October 1st, then assume the director's post January 1st. Governor George Nigh personally recommended that Bellmon be named as interim director in order to serve through the next legislative session. But the governor says he wouldn't try to force his ideas on the new director.
First, I've told Mr. Bellmon, should they offer and should he accept, that I would not give him any preconceived idea from my vantage point, that I actually wanted his viewpoints and the viewpoints of those who assisted him, and not my viewpoints at this time. That his job would be to recommend to me, and then I would take that and assess it and make recommendations to the legislature. So,
Senator Bellmon has not said yet whether he'll take over as interim director of the troubled agency. However, he has said in the past he wouldn't take the job permanently. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the State Welfare Department.
With Henry Bellmon's run for governor in 1962, he became the first Republican governor in Oklahoma. It was a hard fight for the farmer from Billings, Oklahoma, but Bellmon's integrity and trust of the Oklahoma people put Henry Bellmon in the governor's mansion. He developed his power because he could be trusted, a key factor in the rise of power of Lloyd Rader.
Henry Bellmon was one that you could always count on.
Nearly 20 years later, when he retired from the U.S. Senate, Bellmon still had a loyal following from both his political friends and opponents. But if Bellmon accepts Rader's old job, his tenure will be short, and he will more than likely oversee the reorganization of the agency Rader spent 30 years building. Legislators from both parties agree Bellmon is the man for the job.
First of all, he's a man of high integrity, and I think both sides of the aisle will agree with that. Second of all, I think Henry Bellmon understands and respects the legislative process. He's not going to come in here and tell the legislature what to do about that department. He's going to come with suggestions and good ideas. And third, he has shown his ability to make really tough decisions in the past.
I think he'd make an outstanding new director. He's got respect, he's got savvy, and he's got determination. And he's got a constituency, if you please, all his own. All those things argue well for him to be able to deal with that reorganization.
Came down to whether or not teachers were going to pay out of their pockets to reduce class size, or whether teachers were going to have the money in the pocket and be able to confront a little bit larger classrooms. We chose more money in the pocket and confronting a little bit larger classrooms, and we will be pressing on this district from the beginning of school to reduce class size wherever possible. On class size, we
Eugene Field is just one of several Oklahoma City public schools where some 41,000 students will be returning to classes August 30th. And for the first time in the past several years, teachers may be returning with a contract already in hand. Union officials say the proposed agreement is a good one. Just a few years ago, teachers went on strike when a contract could not be reached by the first day of school. At the time, teachers say they were being paid far below the national average. That strike would leave a lot of bitterness between those who stayed out and others that crossed the picket lines. At a news conference today, the Oklahoma City Federation of Teachers and School Board negotiators talked about the tentative agreement. The proposal would guarantee classroom teachers a $2,100 raise, thus making the average salary $18,200 a year. To everyone's surprise, this agreement was reached before school started. The pay hike and benefits equally pleased both sides.
Yesterday at about noon, the union and the Oklahoma City Public Schools reached tentative agreement on what we believe is the best contract that has ever been negotiated in the history of the Oklahoma City Public Schools, and we will hold our contract up against any contract or any settlement between teachers and any Oklahoma school district anywhere.
The board is paying the full retirement for teachers this year. We increased the amount of our contribution to the health insurance plan and added a few other fringe benefits. So actually, in comparing what a teacher gets out of the contract, you have to look into all those areas and making comparisons with other school districts and across the state and the country.
One thing that still concerns Oklahoma City's 2,400 public school teachers is teacher burnout. This comes from trying to handle more students than one educator should. Union members will vote on the tentative contract next Monday, which should show if more money overshadows other teacher demands. Ed Stewart, Action 4.